Hello and welcome back to this new video of mine and also day 12 of BOOKMAS. This is the last video and I thought we're gonna go out of BOOKMAS with a bang. We're gonna talk about all my favorite books I've read so far this year. Not all my favorites, 5 top favorites that I've read so far this year, and just books that I couldn't forget that are still stuck in my head rent-free, and I'm just so excited to share them with you. I feel like this is gonna be a very fun video. I love watching these videos at the end of the year as well. So here we are, and I would say we just get right into this video. The first book I want to start with is also the first book I read this year, which was Magnolia Parks. I also have a reading vlog about this one, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I did not finish... Well, I did finish this. Wow, what did I just want to say? I did not rate it 5 stars, which now in retrospect I feel like I could have, but I still didn't, because it made me feel a lot of emotions that were not necessarily positive, and I didn't know how to, deal with those, so I just gave it 4.5. But as you can see, I annotated this very heavily, and I love this book so much. The reason why this is special to me is because I just connected with these characters so heavily. I really enjoyed the writing style, and I've never read a book like this before, ever in my life. Like, it was so complex, and still, like, of course, a few things I could foresee and foreshadow that would happen. But for example, the ending completely threw me off guard. It kind of feels relatable without being actually relatable. Like, these characters are so out there, so in the high society of London, and still I feel like I can relate to them on a different level just because of Jessa Hastings' writing style and of it being so detailed. And in general, this is just a very heartfelt book. It's gonna make you feel a lot of emotions, and as I said, it's not always gonna be a positive emotion that you're gonna connect with this, because it is a very toxic relationship that we're following here. So we're following Magnolia and BJ, and they used to be together, and now they're actually not anymore because of something that happened in the past. Yeah, they're still in the same circle, they're still very close. We basically see them navigating their lives in London socialite and how they're like trying to reconcile the relationship. What a lot of people say, which I also agree with, is it's like Gossip Girl but in London, and I feel like that's a very good way to describe it and to put it. And yeah, I'm just obsessed with this. Like, I don't know, I just still think about these characters, and I'm really excited to continue this series. And also, whenever I listen to a song, I'm just thinking about these characters immediately. We need to listen right now to So Long London by Taylor Swift. I'm not even kidding, like, this is basically written for the two of them. 1 second. How much sad did you think I had, did you? This is just them. Like, please listen to the entirety of Taylor Swift's latest album. I feel like it's just reading vibes, and especially to Magnolia Parks. Like, I'm just so obsessed with the Tortured Poets department and this book, and this was just a happening this year. It was a happening, I'm gonna be honest. Like, this changed my life, and I don't know if in a good way, but it did, and I'm very happy I was able to start the year off with this. The next book is a book I read recently, so these are all books that just changed my reading directory, or the trajectory or directory. Oh, I'm so confused right now. Never mind, it just changed my life in some type of way. And the book I want to be talking about right now is Still Beating. I read this book on my Kindle. I bought it now as a paperback, and I'm just, yeah, obsessed. The reason why I'm so obsessed with this is not necessarily the writing style. It's also not that I could heavily connect to the characters. I love the characters nevertheless, but the reason why I was so hooked on this was because I was in a really long reading slump this year. And yeah, I feel like this one was just so bingeable. Like, I didn't want to put it down because the entire synopsis and the premise of this is very interesting. This is like a dark romance, but in a different type of manner. Like, I've never read a book like this ever before, and yeah, it's kind of like a mix between a thriller and a romance, because the two main characters in here are getting kidnapped, and the first half of the book is basically about them being in the basement of the one who kidnapped them. And the female main character, called Cora, is Dean's, so the male main character's sister-in-law. So basically they're just, yeah, almost related. They've known each other for 13 years. Yeah, not really related, like, that's a weird thing to say, but they're supposed to become family because Dean is supposed to marry her sister. They've known each other for a very long time. They've had a hateful relationship basically for the entire time they've known each other, because he used to bully her and she would get back at him. So they basically need to reconcile their relationship so that they can work better together and get out of this basement. And it's just a very triggering story. I'm not gonna say this is lighthearted or easy to read at all, but I was just so surprised because I've never read a thriller before, because I'm usually very scared and intimidated by those, and I started to ease my way into dark romance. But this was like a completely different level because for some reason it felt kind of realistic, which made it even more creepy. And it was just really psychological, like the way they needed to process everything that happened and the way they needed to, yeah, fix what has been happening in the past. I feel like I could deeply resonate with that part. Yeah, it just changed me in a way that I feel like now I'm a bit more into dark romance. And then I also read the Mindfuck series after this, so I feel like this book started off a new chain of events that were going to happen after that, so that's why I hold this very dearly to my heart. I saw a lot of people on Goodreads saying, oh, this is not a good writing style, or because I read 1-star reviews of my favorite books and this one was in it. I'm gonna link the video somewhere here. And of course I see why people sometimes say something negative about this. However, I still love this, and it's just because I've never read something like this before. I felt like it was really original. I can highly recommend this to you, but be aware that there are a lot of triggering points in there that, yeah, are not really sensible. It's a very heavy book, let's just put it that way. Next book I don't have a physical copy of, or I do have a physical copy, but I borrowed it to a friend, so I don't have it here right now. But the book I'm talking about is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This was very surprising to me as well, because I've never read an Abby Jimenez book before, and I thought, okay, it's gonna be cute, but I didn't think I would love it as much as I did. Like, this was a 5-star read for me, and I completely obsessed over these characters. Like, the book boyfriend in this book is my type, you know, like if I could make a man come to life, it would be him. Like, he's just perfection, and you cannot tell me otherwise. Literally, I will die on that hill. So we have the two main characters that basically met over a Reddit thread because they're both kind of cursed, at least that's what they tell themselves, because whenever they date someone, this person is then gonna break up with them and then find the one for them basically right after that. So they are cursed to never find the one, but just to help other people find the one and know what they don't want in a relationship, basically. Yeah, that's how they meet, over Reddit, because he posted a Reddit thread about it. I'm really bad with names, so I don't have the names in my head right now, that's why I'm not saying them. I think his name was Justin or something. That's really embarrassing because I love this book, but as I said, I'm just terrible with names. Yeah, we're just gonna deal with it. We then start off a situationship that is only supposed to last during the summer because our female main protagonist is very, yeah, not flaky, but she doesn't like to settle. Like, she needs to travel and she needs to be someplace else. So for her, it's like a done deal. Like, we're gonna see like where this goes for 2 or 3 months and then we're gonna break up anyways. So the odds are technically against them, but the way they got to that resolution and everything was so honest and real, it felt like. Like, it still had obviously fictional aspects in it that made it even more magical, to be honest. But Abby Jimenez's writing style, I was just so in awe. I've never read a book like this. Completely 5 stars. I can highly recommend it to you if you haven't read it yet. And I'm definitely gonna be reading more Abby Jimenez books because this was just stunning. I loved this. And I really didn't expect that. And I also have a reading vlog on that one, so I'm gonna link that somewhere here as well. I have a lot of reading vlogs, I noticed. Very happy about that. The 4th book I also read this summer. No, I read it in fall, but the first book in the series I read in summer. And that also changed completely my reading style and my taste again, because it's Heartless by Elsie Silver. So I was contemplating if I should put Flawless here or Heartless. I read Flawless, and Flawless changed completely everything I thought, because I thought I'm not into cowboys, you know? I was like, oh, cowboy romance, I don't know. So I just picked it up because everyone was loving it and raving about it, and I was like, I want to be part of that conversation, but I don't think I'm gonna be obsessed. I thought I would just give Flawless like a solid 3-star, while Flawless and Heartless were now both 5 stars. Apparently I'm into cowboys now, and I even have a little cowboy boot charm hanging down my Kindle now, so I think we can all agree I'm a little bit obsessed now. I definitely want to have cowboy boots at this point. Wow. I just, like, the thing is, I went to Florida a year ago, I didn't buy any cowboy boots, and now that I'm back in Germany, like the least cowboy place you can be in, now I'm obsessed with cowboys. Sure. But this book and these characters are so lovely. I don't even know what to tell you. We're following here Kate and Willa, and Willa is basically the nanny. Kate is a single dad and she needs to take care of his little boy, and he doesn't trust anyone because of an experience he made in the past with his ex-wife. I feel like I could really deeply resonate why Kate was the way he was or is, and why he had those thought patterns. But also Willa wasn't surface level, like she was really flushed out as a character. She was like the charming redhead. She gave kind of Jules vibes, you know, and like from Twisted Hate. And I love these type of characters. Like I'm just obsessed. And there was one scene in here where she was singing a song. I can't. This still replays every time I listen to a country song, this scene replays in my head. Whenever in general I listen to country music, I'm just thinking about these characters from this entire series. I wish they were real. I wish I could be there. I wish I could just immerse myself in these pages, you know? What did I want to say now? Oh, there's a scene in here. That's where I was going with this. So there's a scene in here where she is starting to sing a song. This is not a big spoiler. Like she's just playing the guitar and singing a song. And what I love about this is we have a playlist in here. And the author... I thought, where's the playlist? So if you look up the Elsie Silver playlist for Heartless on Spotify, you can see a song in there that is exactly the song she's singing. And I've never had that I was listening to music and I could hear her sing it, because that's what the author drew inspiration from in that moment. So I can highly recommend you to check that out. Well, okay, I forgot what the song is called, but it was lovely. I can recommend this to you. Like, this was beautiful. I want to say this probably about every Elsie Silver book, I feel like. Like, this is where we're headed at this point. And the last book, which I think you can tell that I need like music or something to connect to characters apparently. I didn't know that before about myself, but it's not because I loved the books as much, I just love these characters and the entire storyline, is Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm very late to the party with most of these, I'm gonna be completely honest. Beginning of the year I watched the series, and I know a lot of people say, oh, the series is not as good, but I watched the series before I read the book. For me, the series was perfection, okay? Like the characters were a bit old, yes, but the entire music, oh, I loved it so much. Like if there is good music, I'm obsessed. I watched I watched the show, I think 3 times in like 1 month. I was completely hooked, like not even normal anymore. And then a few months later I read the book. Of course I loved the book, but I feel like I just love these characters and the storyline and everything. So I don't know if it's the book itself. Of course it's based on the book, so I'm not gonna rate it lower than that. But I was sometimes a bit bored with it, simply because I knew where we're headed. But the entire premise of this is also written in interview format. This changed my life. Like even Daisy Jones and the Six, as like a band, was on my Spotify Wrapped. So you know that I listen to this shit a lot, okay? I love this. And the sun is doing weird things now. Should I move a bit more here? So we're basically following Daisy Jones and the Six, which are basically 2 separate groups, or like 2 separate artists. So we first have the Six, which is a band, and then we have Daisy Jones, who is a single artist, and they start to collaborate together. It's set in the 80s, and they collaborate together to create a hit album. And a few years later, we're then having an interview with all the band members explaining what happened back then and why they stopped doing music, because it was such a big success. These characters are not real. Like, this is not a real biography, but it seems like one. You know, like it's just, it seems so real. I wish these characters were real, and just the music, like, I mean, come on, like, I know a lot of people said, okay, the songs are not the same as in the back of the book, but to be honest, I just loved the music so much that I didn't really mind. Make a good thing bad. Oh. I'm obsessed, literally. So this was giving kind of rock music, but from the 80s, and I'm just... I don't know if it's actually like accurate, the accurate representation of the music back then, but I used to grow up with this kind of music. I'm not in my 40s, guys, but I just listened to a lot of 80s and 90s music when I was little. This was just a flashback. Like, this was a pure flashback for me, and I loved it so much. And I think that's why a big part of me just loves this so much, is simply because of the music and the show. And then having a book to it and being able to read it on page and seeing like everything play out in my head like the show as well. Beautiful, just beautiful. So this I can also highly recommend to you. Read it in whatever order you would like, you know, read it first and then watch the show, or just watch the show and read the book. I don't mind, as long as you do something about it, you know, because you cannot continue living your life without knowing about this. So this is just nostalgia at this point, because it's been almost a year now since I watched the show. I love this. So here are the 4 books, physical books, that I would highly recommend to you. And then we also have Just for the Summer. I feel like, looking back, it was a pretty good reading year, but in between I felt like, oh, I didn't read so many good books. But when I was actually like thinking now about which books I want to show you guys, these were really high up for me, or obviously were the highest ones up, and I'm really in awe, and I love these. I hope to read a bit more fantasy next year though, because the fantasy and romantasy I read this year wasn't really hitting for me, but usually that's my genre and that's my jam, even more than romance. So let's see how that's gonna go. But thank you so much for watching. Yeah, we're gonna see each other someday before or after Christmas. Definitely before the new year we're still gonna see each other, but if we don't see each other before Christmas, I wish you a very merry holiday. Merry Christmas. And I want to thank you for everything. This was a crazy year for us. Like, so much has happened on this channel for some reason, and it was also just privately a very busy and hectic year, but I'm really grateful to have you guys. Thank you for everything, and I always love to hear from you. So make sure you let me know a comment down below. What was your highlight book this year? I want to hear from you. And with that, have a beautiful and blissful day. And I'm gonna see you not tomorrow, but probably next week. Bye!